Hey, it's Dougie Wood, and in this video I'm going to show you exactly how we go about building a modern looking newsletter using news that's being created inside of our SharePoint intranet. Now, why would you want to do this? Now, typically I advise people who are building their intranets and in the early days of adoption to build these newsletters because a lot of people are usually familiar with getting their information or used to having communications sent to them via email, but you actually are probably looking to switch that so you're no longer sending them a lot of emails. You're wanting them to come to the intranet inside of SharePoint to get their news. So in the early days of adoption, what's really useful is to send them these newsletters, which are essentially shortcuts to your news articles on your SharePoint site, and even has a button included inside of it that will send them to the SharePoint site. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how we build this and how we can put this together, all using native SharePoint functionality. So I've got my dummy intranet here, which I've just called the heart. And actually, there's a number of different news areas on a SharePoint intranet. And one of the first things to think about when you're building out your newsletter is quite often there's multiple sources of news that come onto a intranet homepage. Now, you control this via the news web part. And on this page, actually, you can see I've got multiple news web parts. At the very top of this scroller here, this is actually a news web part, but it's just showing as a carousel. I then have a kind of hero layout of news articles, which is pulling in here. And I'm actually pulling in news articles from multiple sites as well. So across the very top, the slideshow is using news that's coming from the heart. And this area down here is actually pulling in multiple areas of the heart, but also other sites like leadership updates, HR updates, and other news which is coming from other departmental SharePoint sites which are within my intranet. Now, before we go any further, it's worth explaining as well, there's two different types of news that you could have inside of your SharePoint site that could feed into your newsletter. Now, the news articles themselves need to be created on the site that you want them to show where they've originated from. So for example, these news articles are actually created on the leadership updates site. So if I go here, you can see I've created a site called leadership updates purely just for these news articles to be created on. So then when I go back to my intranet, which is the heart, those news articles which are pulled through actually contain where they've originally come from, with almost like a bit of a label to these have come from leadership updates. Now, obviously the leadership updates, all it's got on it is a news feed, and that's just for this dummy demonstration, but that might have other information about our leaders on there, who they are, how to connect with them, what they do, bios and things like that. So that might be why you have a separate area and have news articles which are coming from them, pulling up onto your intranet. So that's the first thing, is think about where the news articles are going to be created. Now, some intranets, they don't have multiple sites. They actually just have the one site that they create them from, whatever their intranet's called. So my intranet's called the heart, but it could be called anything. Intranet, home, hub, Bob. It doesn't really matter what you call your intranet. Now, the second thing to know about the news is that there's two different types of news. You've got what we call a news post and a news link. So we can create a news article simply by clicking this new button on whatever site we want that news article to originate from. So I'm going to create one on the heart. Now there's two different types, as I say. There's news post and news link. Now a news post is an article that you create yourself on that site. So you're going to create it, you're going to give it some images, some text, things like that. Whereas a news link is that you're linking to something you've seen somewhere else. Now that might be on a different SharePoint site, but it could also easily be something that's external as well. It could be on a third-party news website that relates to your industry, for example. So if you worked in manufacturing, there might be some manufacturing related news site that you want to pull articles in from. But first I'm going to look at news post. So I'm going to click on news post, and we can see here there's a couple of different types of templates that we can use, and actually these are all out of the box from Microsoft, different types. We've got blank news, you've got a newsletter layout, you've got status updates, process topics, all sorts of different things. But I'm actually just going to use this blank news option for now, just because I'm going to keep it simple. And then I'm going to give a title to my news article. So let's maybe say we're going to launch a new company benefit for electric vehicles. So I'm going to say new benefit for EV cars. Then I'm going to change some of this layout. So actually, I would quite like a banner image across the top up here. So I can actually change that by selecting this little drop down here, and I'm going to change it to image and title. Then what I can do is I can change the background image by clicking on this browse image option. And actually, I'm just going to use this stock images because Microsoft have some really good stock imagery that they have free to use. They're all really high quality images which are completely free to use, royalty free. They're quite large as well, so you can move them and shape them into different ways. So I'm just going to look for pictures of some cars, or maybe even electric cars. There we go. Perfect. We'll select that one. Click on insert. And there we go. That set our background picture. Now, it's also worth mentioning that this banner image is also going to be the image which is going to be used to pull through onto your intranet homepage, as well as when we come and build our newsletter later on, it's going to show the image in there as well. So that image needs to kind of work both as a large image and also as a smaller image. You can also set the focal point, so if it doesn't quite sit right, so actually I think you got it quite right the first time, but you can always sort of change this to fit on the page as well. Then we're going to apply a bit of text. So we can just click in the text box here and just say this is some text about the new benefit that we are rolling out at the start of next month. So just a bit of dummy text here. In fact, actually, I'm going to paste that in a few times just so you can see what this looks like. Now, this is just like any other SharePoint page. A news page is no different to any other SharePoint page. So we can add more sections in here if we wanted to. So we can add in a new section. I've chosen a 2-column section here. We can add in web parts. So we can add in a text web part, for example. Putting a bit more text in here. We could add in another image if we wanted to. Add in an image web part. And then let's just look for electric car again. Maybe this is a bit of text which maybe is describing the free charging point that we get with it or something like that. So we can build this out now as like a little knowledge base, as almost like a little wiki of what is coming from this kind of scheme. So this is our news article. Now we're happy with this. We want now to post this to our SharePoint site so other people can see it. Now all we need to do is click on that post and send option across the top. Now this will post the news article, but what you can also do, again, similar to almost like a mini newsletter, because the newsletter feature has been really popular, Microsoft have also allowed the ability to send an email just based on one news article if you wanted to. So you can send this to people, you CC it, give a title, add a message in if you wanted to. But I'm going to build out a newsletter. I want to send out multiple. So this isn't just about the one news article. I want to give a summary of the news articles that I've created recently. So I'm going to come back and explain the newsletter feature slightly later on. But first, I wanted to ask a favor. If you're enjoying this video, please do subscribe to my channel. It really helps me grow and grow my kind of audience further. If you've got any questions at all, you can use the comments feed below. I try my very best to answer all the questions that go in there. Also drop a like on the video. Also, if you're looking for some additional training content, then go onto my channel and join the few hundred other members by clicking the membership option. Now, the membership is only 99 pence per month, so it's not going to break the bank. But there are plenty of videos in here which will get you started with sort of basic fundamentals of SharePoint training, and also how you can build your intranet from the very beginning and walk you through that. If you need any professional services or a SharePoint consultant, you can click the link in the bio, drop me a contact form, and we can discuss how we can help you with your SharePoint intranet. But let's get back to the topic in hand. So now we've created our news article. If you go back to our intranet, you can now see the news article has been posted onto my news feed here. Now I could also create more news articles by clicking new and then click on news post, or I could create a news link. So if you remember, we were talking about we could also pull through articles from a third-party website. So if I go to, say, for example, BBC News, And also go and select a article. Oh, this doesn't look great article. So let's just pick one. It's all political at the moment. So we grab the URL. So you can see that, or you can't see this because it's just off screen, but I'm right clicking the URL, and then I'm going copying it. I'm going back to my intranet and I'm pasting it into my site, and you can see it'll automatically pull through the preview image. It'll pull through the title. Now this might be a bit long, so I might want to choose to sort of pull this down a little bit. And then we can change the description. Then once we're happy with that, we can click on post, and that'll bring through the news article as a link. What will happen is when you click on that news article, it will actually open up the full news article in the third-party website. But it's a great way of kind of pulling through news articles from external feeds. Now, let's get on to the main topic, which is the newsletter. Now we've got our news articles created, we can simply create our news article. Now, with a news web part, if you have more news articles that will fit on the page and some have fallen off the page, you'll then get a see all button which will appear here. Now, this news article, you can only display 4 articles in, and then once you've got a 5th, the see all button will appear. Once we click on that see all button, it'll take you to a page which looks very much like this. So to create the newsletter, it's actually known as a news digest. Now, if we click on the email news digest button across the top, it will then allow us to select some of the news articles that are in that feed. So I'm going to select this one, I'm going to select this one, and this one. Then you click on the next button. It will then give you almost like a template in which you can give it a name. So we could call this our summer newsletter. Specify who we want to send it to. So for this case, I'm just going to send it to myself. And then put in a bit of text. So I can say something like, check out the latest news articles from our SharePoint intranet, the heart. Or something like that, whatever you want it to be. What I would suggest is don't go too nuts with the text up here. You can't really format it. We can't really format it at all. And it kind of takes up a lot of room. You really want to use this as a kind of visual way of pulling through the news articles. Now you can choose to remove them, and you can also choose to reorder them as well if you wanted to move them around slightly if you thought they were going to be better in a different position. Then once you're happy with that, all you need to do is click on the Send News Digest button, and that's going to template all that up, and it's going to then send that out as an email. Here we go. Here's the email that's come through. So you can see here now, here's the text. It's told me the SharePoint site that it's come from. It's all very neutral, so it's not going to clash too much with any kind of brands or theme colors and things like that. And then we can see all the different articles here. We can click on them to take us through to the full article if we wanted to, or in the newsletter as well. We've got the option scrolling to the bottom and then click on Go to Site to see the full kind of site and all the news articles which sit on there. If you need any professional help with SharePoint, there's a link in the description below. You can get in contact with me and we can discuss how we can help you with your SharePoint site. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like the video, and if you've got any questions at all, drop them in the comment feed below and look out for our next video. Thank you.